Stop accepting reports you can't read. Stop accepting marginal service. Stop working with people that don't take the time to understand your business. Stop beating yourself up. If it's not working, if the marketing partner you're working with is not giving you good service, don't accept it. You probably weren't looking for another marketing video today, so I'll keep this short. I just want to tell you a little bit more about who I am, why I do this, and what you should do with it. I'm Alex Wells. I'm the founder and CEO at Imprint Digital, based in Loveland, Colorado. But I didn't start in a corner office. I started where most of you do, at the ground level. Also, struggling out of high school, just floundering around, not really sure what I was going to do. That led me to where I am today. I worked many jobs. I worked in commercial drywall, landscaping, snow removal, and none of those were just really for me. I found that I always had a mind for business in some way, shape, or form. I just wanted to find the right place to get my foot in the door. Eventually, I landed in cold call sales. I was offered a job to do sales for the New York Times. When I first got into that job, I walked in, looked around, something just felt right. It felt like an opportunity. And in sales, which I recommend everybody has a little bit of experience in when it comes to business, you have an opportunity to earn based on what you can do. I love to be able to answer questions and find good solutions for those that are looking for them. And in sales, that's just what it is. You're trying to find a solution to a problem. You're trying to convince somebody to do something that is going to benefit them in some way, shape, or form. This was a very intense sales job. Cold call. Cold call sales is pretty ruthless. You are basically in charge of trying to dial as many people as possible to try to get as many sales as you can throughout a day. At this job, I was dialing over 110 dials a day. And this wasn't what everybody was doing. But part of the opportunity that I saw was if I could really understand the mechanics, ratios, and the math behind sales, backed with being able to actually navigate those conversations well, that it would put me in a higher percentage to be able to get a sale. I decided at that time I was going to come into work every day and I was going to make as many dials as possible. By making as many dials as possible, I was going to get a higher chance of getting a sale. So I would come in with my water bottles, maybe a Monster energy drink or two, and I wouldn't take a break. I would just sit there and dial and dial and dial and practice and practice and practice. And it worked. I ended up doing extremely well. I was breaking records on a weekly and monthly basis. I was getting more sales in a day in many cases than people were getting in an entire month. It was enough to get me some recognition, for people to pay attention. And really in our life and career and professional endeavors, that's really the best thing that we can ask for, is for somebody to pay attention, for somebody to give you a shot, for somebody to recognize what you're doing. By doing well in sales, it got me that. And I was quickly promoted into an account management role. I had a mentor at the time. This mentor was incredible. He saw things in me that other people didn't take the time to see. He spent time and invested multiple weekends and evenings just training me on everything that he was doing. He was my boss at the time, and he was responsible for managing a very large book of business for this company. And I'm extremely grateful for that opportunity because that time he spent really investing in me and giving me the knowledge to succeed, that is something that put me in a position to where I wouldn't be where I am today without it. Now, what ended up happening actually is over the course of about 3-4 months or so of him taking the time to do that, he actually ended up getting let go. And at the ripe old age of 21 years old, I had the owner of this company come to me and say, "Hey, you're gonna be okay. You got this." And I stepped into that role. However, there was a caveat. I didn't get a raise. It wasn't necessarily a promotion. I had to prove myself in order for those things to happen, for the compensation to come, for the title to come. A lot of the time, really, opportunity disguises itself as something challenging, something you don't want to do. That led me to the opportunity where I was managing over 110 employees between 2 locations. I was responsible for developing training programs, building them from the ground up, hiring, firing, making schedules, forecasting, all kinds of things that are extremely applicable to business. And I did that for a long time. I did that for about 4.5 years. This job, a lot of it at the time, was really trying to help these publications get evolved or adapt to the technology world that we're all in today. So I was in charge of these marketing teams and these customer service teams and sales teams across these locations. And this was an exceptional opportunity. I learned so much about business, developed great relationships, did a great job, also had to deal with a lot of imposter syndrome. It was the first time I grew a beard consistently because I was worried that everybody was going to look down on me for my age. I was wearing a tie every day just to make sure that I was carrying out that professional experience. And I was being looked at respectably and taken seriously. After doing that for about the 4.5 years that I did, I recognized the writing on the wall. Digital marketing was happening. All of these companies, they were trying to adapt to it. And I felt like it was extremely important at that time to go ahead and take the leap. Look for that next opportunity. What was that going to look like? There was a local digital marketing agency who was starting to gain a lot of momentum, a lot of notoriety. It also looked like it was a fun place to be. I tried to apply. I was quickly put into a sales role job, and I didn't want that. I decided to turn it down. And so I started to look at the job market a little bit, tried to find out how can I get into more of an account management role, which is really what I was enjoying at the time. I was enjoying that job. It was just enough to keep me there for a period of time, but I wanted to get back into that kind of a role. Somebody that was more responsible for managing relationships, executing, and out of the sales side. Although I was good at sales, it wasn't where I wanted to be at that time. And so I found another opportunity, a different digital marketing company, and I was hired there. So I decided to go ahead and move on, go to that company, and I actually hopped on a plane to Dallas, Texas. And this was the first time I had ever been on a plane. I'm riding on the plane. It was terrifying, by the way, first time flyer here. I get to Dallas. As soon as you land, you get your airplane mode off, your phone starts to connect to the towers. I was met with a overdraft notification on my phone. I had just left a job, stable income. It wasn't a lot, but it was paying the bills. And I took this leap. When I saw this notification come through, my stomach dropped. I didn't know what to do. What did I just do to myself? Where am I? What was I thinking? Did I just make a big mistake? I ended up having to get into a van, go to a hotel, I'm checking in, I'm doing all this stuff, and I have to sleep on this all night long. This concern, this worry, this pit in my stomach. I went to the training course that morning, and they actually gave us American Express gift cards. Enough money to help us get by throughout the training period. This was gonna be 2 weeks. I was so relieved and excited. Maybe I didn't make a mistake. Maybe this was meant to be. That training course was fabulous. It was fantastic. They had so much good information. It was extremely valuable. I met a lot of cool people, learned a lot during that experience. And I was at that company for about 6-7 months or so, and I ended up getting a call back from that digital marketing company I mentioned before. The role I was looking for was open, and they were interested. And I decided to go ahead and move forward with that. This was an incredible opportunity, one I'm very excited about at the time. Fun company, fast growing, was really just on a rocket ship trajectory. They developed a new software. A lot of things were going very well for this company. I got in at the ground level. At the time when I was hired, there was under 100 employees. They were scaling, and I helped scale it. We went over the next 2.5-3 years from under 100 employees to over 600 employees, and I was a part of that. I quickly got promoted into a director role based on all of the work that I was doing and building my book of business, working with clients, and successful marketing strategies to help many businesses scale. I was able to join an existing team. Well, this existing team at the time, they had just under $500,000 in monthly recurring revenue, which is pretty large for a business, let alone just a team within a company. Over the first year, my goal was I looked around, I recognized what was going on within this team, and I felt like we could be the best team in the company. By the end of that year, we had grown from under 500,000 monthly recurring revenue book to over $1 million. This was huge. It was a great opportunity for me to take my skill set, all my experience, and really implement it into this new organization. And we actually ended up winning Team of the Year that year, my first year on the team. This experience of being a part of a fast-growing agency or SaaS company was a huge part of what you're seeing from me today. If you've been tuning into our videos, you've been hearing some of these lessons and this educational information that I'm trying to give business owners, it's because I've sat in the boiler room. I've watched firsthand. I've seen the agency conversations. I've seen how they conduct business. I've had so many conversations and had a firsthand look at scaling over hundreds and hundreds of companies. And my clients love me, my team love me. But over time, after doing that for about another 4 years, 6 years or so, what I started to notice was the agency market was evolving rapidly. And it was having a large effect at this company I was working for. A lot of what I really enjoyed about that experience, it started to become less relevant. What's important to me is entrepreneurship. Being a business owner is hard. If you take that sacrifice, you jump with no parachute, that is saying so much about your character. And it's such a big, important part of community. It's what makes our whole entire society thrive. If nobody's creating businesses, then there are no jobs. There's no food on the table. And what I felt like was going on was the agency market was going one of two directions. One is you're just focused on profit. Profit is important, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of ways you could spin up an agency. One of those being is you could just try to create a system that plugs into people that can just run a Canva template or are just out of college, have never had that first-hand experience in working with business owners. Or it can go at a deeper level within business. That looks like you're trying to integrate into the business itself. You're becoming more of a partner than just a service provider. You're trying to help a business owner understand the logistics. You're consulting them. You understand the financial component, the sales component, the marketing component, the leadership component of business. All of these are necessary in order for a business to be successful. And that's how I approach the relationship with my clients, with my teammates, was understanding how you have to really provide service and how important it is to understand the business itself in order to get marketing to grow it. And I think at that point in time, I was at a crossroads. It was, hey, either I continue to ride this rocket ship and what we're doing in this direction, or I try something else. Well, I chose to try something else. And that's why I'm having these conversations with you. I decided to go ahead and leave. At the time, what I was looking to do was I was looking to invest in companies. I wanted to find something to buy. I wanted to see what kind of opportunity was out there, take my experience and be able to scale that up. Well, as soon as I took that leap, I started to have people reach out to me. They said, hey, I really need help with digital marketing. I know you know your stuff. Is there anything you can do to help? And I felt like that was a call to action. I wasn't planning on starting an agency, but it found me. And that's when I decided to start Imprint Digital. Imprint Digital, what we're doing is we're focused on exactly what I'm talking about. We chose to take the route where we want to integrate into your organization. We're doing more of a revenue operations type of model. We want to integrate into your business. We want to help consult you. We want to understand sales, leadership, marketing, finance, all together as one. As a business owner, if you're really wanting to work with somebody that helps you grow, you have to understand that it is a partnership. You have to work with them in order to get that done. It's not a magic bullet. It requires good service. It requires good talent, people with experience, and it is totally possible if you have all of those buckets filled. But what you have to do as a business owner is you have to make sure that you care about it as much as we do. So here's what I want you to do with this video. Whether you ever talk to us or not, 3 things. First thing, stop accepting reports you can't read. Stop accepting marginal service. Stop working with people that don't take the time to understand your business. Stop beating yourself up. If it's not working, if the marketing partner you're working with is not giving you good service, don't accept it. Don't accept it, because good service does exist. 2, stop letting people learn on your dime. Here's what I mean by that. If you're working with a company and they don't have a plan, a real plan, and they're not taking the time to understand how you lead the business, what your financials are, how your sales team's working, then don't waste your time, because marketing is not going to work without understanding those things. It will not work. Now, what you should do is make sure before you even go into it, or today, that they have an actual plan and that they're taking the time to understand these things. 3, stop thinking that marketing is supposed to be confusing. It's not that confusing. Now, how we communicate information, that's going to lead to how confusing it is or how easy it is to understand. But what we're really trying to do for you is we want it to be more mathematical. We're gonna do the services, we'll tell you what we're doing. We'll give you all the information as to what labor's going into it, all the work we're doing, all of that. But what we do want to do is make it as easy to comprehend and understand as possible. If we do that, we're not learning on your dime, your reports make sense, and you found a good solution. That's it. That's the video. I didn't ask you to book a call. I didn't ask you to reach out. If any of that stuff sounds like something you're currently experiencing, or if you're thinking about having conversations or in the middle of conversations where you're starting to see some red flags based on what I've talked about, great. We'd love to talk. If not, use those 3 things that I talked about. Start to do some of your own discernment, research, questioning things, and trying to make sure that you're in the best situation possible. Either way, I'm glad you spent your time listening to this today. And if you get a moment, go ahead and subscribe. Follow us for more. We'll see you out there.